Members of the jury, the relationship of landlord and tenant carries with it certain specific rights and well-defined responsibilities. A principle of law from which there is no escape provides that a landlord of a tenement house must keep his premises in a condition of good repair by the exercise of reasonable diligence. That means that a landlord of a tenement house owes to his tenant a certain duty to superintend, supervise, manage, and control his premises so that they do not become dangerous to use, dangerous for the tenants by reason of lack of supervision. The law does not expect that the owner of a tenement house necessarily must stand responsible for everything that may happen. The owner of the tenement house is not an insurer. The law does not insist that simply because the owner of the tenement house sustains a certain business relationship with his tenants, he must be ready to assume responsibility for everything that occurs in the house and to the tenants. Nor does the law expect from the owner of a tenement house that he will exercise the highest degree of care possible in order to avoid any responsibility for any injury to any tenant. The law does not expect that everything that humanly can possibly be done must be done by the owner of a tenement house in order to escape responsibility for injury because of any defects in the tenement house. And the law does not require that the owner of a tenement house must provide the safest sort of habitation for the tenants. All the law demands is that with reasonable care the owner of the tenement house keep the premises as they are in a condition of good repair. The law does not say the owner of a tenement house must be responsible and will be responsible simply because the appliances and appurtenances of the premises are not of the very best and of the highest and safest quality. All the owner of a tenement house need do is, in the things he provides for his tenants, to exercise care to see that those things are safe and secure and necessarily do not create any risk or hazard or danger for the tenants. Now, the owner of a tenement house is responsible for every part of the house. It is his duty to keep the tenement house in repair. Particularly so is it his duty to maintain that portion of the tenement house over which he maintains dominion and control, and concerning which no individual tenant has any right to exercise authority, such as the exits and egresses and stairways and hallway. He is the especial duty of the owner of the tenement house to keep the stairways in a condition of good repair, and regardless of whether the stairways are stone or wood or any other material, regardless of whether they are bared or whether they are covered. No matter in what condition they exist, it is his duty to keep that stairway in a condition of sound and good repair, inasmuch as the owner of a tenement house has imposed upon him the obligation so far as his tenants and even visitors in the house are concerned to keep it in a condition of good repair. Did this landlord in this particular instance fail to exercise care in the maintenance of that particular portion of the premises asserted by the plaintiff as the cause of her injury, she must show you that as the landlord of this tenement house, this defendant failed to do something which the ordinary rules of reason and care of said premises and said property would require of the reasonably careful, cautious individual. And unless she shows that the management and the care exercised by this defendant over this property was entirely opposed and antagonistic to the care to be expected from the ordinary reasonable owner of a tenement house, she failed to show negligence, and it does not make any difference what kind of accident happened. She cannot recover against this defendant. Now, the plaintiff charges negligence because of the failure to perform something which the law imposes. There must first be knowledge of the particular thing which must require supervision, correction, or repair. And so this plaintiff must show that this defendant knew either actually or presumably, of the existence of this defect, if this defect did exist. We cannot hold an individual responsible for negligence concerning something of which he has no knowledge, and so the law does not hold a landlord guilty of negligence concerning a portion of the premises out of repair unless it be shown that he had actual knowledge or notice, or else that there was presumptive notice of that defect brought about at home. Now, actual knowledge means nothing more or less than the fact that the landlord or a representative of the landlord, by the exercise of his senses, discover and see and know of the matter that needs repair. Presumptive notice, which is equity or equally as binding as actual notice, means that a thing has contributed or continued for a period of time sufficient to warrant the inference that had the individual been properly careful, he would have discovered that particular defect. $150.